What's going on, guys? The Comics Kid 2099 here. Welcome to day 98 of the 365-day graphic novel review challenge. Today, I want to talk to you about Darth Vader, Volume 2, Shadows and Secrets. This is issue 7 through 12 of the ongoing Darth Vader series by Kieran Gillen and Salvador Larroca. And this book is good. It's as good as Volume 1. I don't really have any complaints about this book. In fact, everything that I said about Volume 1 and how awesome it was is true of this volume. There are a couple of things that I wanted to add that I didn't say about Volume 1 that are true of both volumes, and I'll go ahead and talk about those things a little bit now. The first thing is that this series is really good at balancing between standalone issues and an ongoing arc. You can jump in with issue 7 of this series, and you can pretty much understand what's going on. You don't really need to read what happened in Volume 1. Sure, there are some characters that you're not going to know from the movies, like the two droids and Dr. Aphra. You are going to see these characters and you're going to think, wait a minute, who are they? But this series does a good enough job of introducing them to you if you haven't read Volume 1 that you don't need to read Volume 1. It does a really good job of balancing between that and the overall arc of the entire series, because there is this ongoing thread that starts in Volume 1 and continues here, and I assume will continue in later volumes, and this series is an absolute master of balancing between the two. I cannot think of another series right off the top of my head that does such a good job of giving you standalone issues where you can just jump in and read it and enjoy it without needing to read other things to understand what's going on, while also continuing the overall storyline. This series is really good at that. I applaud the creators for doing such a good job at that. I really like that. The other thing that I wanted to talk about is how Kieran Gillen is presenting Darth Vader to us. When I talked about Volume 1, I talked a little bit about how Kieran Gillen was going more for the Darth Vader in A New Hope than he was in Empire Strikes Back. Because if you watch A New Hope and Empire Strikes Back, Vader is portrayed very differently in those two movies. In A New Hope, he's basically just another guy working for the Empire. Sure, he has a light sword that no one else has, and he has a really cool costume that no one else has, but other than that, he's just some thug, and some of the higher-ups in the Empire actually kind of make fun of him a little bit, and you don't get the feeling that he is feared and respected across the Empire, even though we are told that he extinguished the Jedi Order. He's just some guy. And then when you get to the Empire Strikes Back, he force chokes like 5 dudes who all fail to do what he wants them to do, and suddenly he is wow and awesome, and you definitely need to fear him and respect him. And this series is going more for how he was treated in A New Hope. Basically, everyone in the Empire kind of tries to walk all over Vader, and sometimes they're able to get away with it, and sometimes they're not able to get away with it. And I just assumed that Kieran Gillen was trying to show Darth Vader going from point A to point B in this series, since this is set in between A New Hope and Empire Strikes Back. I assumed that that was what he was going for, and that may be what he's going for, but another thing that occurred to me while I was reading this is that Darth Vader is also the protagonist of this series, and so Kieran Gillen has to find a way to make him likable as a protagonist, but also keep him as the villain in this overall universe, because he's still a bad guy. And so Kieran Gillen, I get the feeling the best way that Kieran Gillen is going to go about doing that is to make everyone else in the Empire even worse and more unlikable than Darth Vader. So if everyone in the Empire is trying to betray Darth Vader and stab him in the back, then Darth Vader is being treated the way he was in A New Hope, but it also makes it easier to do an ongoing series about a villain protagonist. And that's something that never occurred to me when I was reading Volume 1, and it makes a lot of sense, because there is quite a bit of backstabbing going on here, and also this series is very consistent with A New Hope and how Vader was portrayed there. Now, I would still like to eventually see this series slowly take Darth Vader to how he was portrayed in The Empire Strikes Back, where he walks into a room and all the Empire people just kind of stand up a little straighter, and they're hoping that Vader doesn't notice them, and they're definitely hoping that he's not mad about something and he's going to force choke them because he's mad about something. I would really like to see this series take Darth Vader from how he was in A New Hope to how he was in Empire Strikes Back. I don't know if they're going to do that. I guess we'll find out. But that's about all that I have to say about Shadows and Secrets. We get to see some really cool stuff here. We get to see a heist story, which is not something that I thought I would see in a Darth Vader story. If I thought I was going to see that in a Star Wars story, I would have figured Lando Calrissian or Han Solo. I did not think that we would see that in a Darth Vader series, so that's really cool to see. We get to see a little bit of an expansion of the supporting cast here, and we'll get to see how that plays out a little bit more in future volumes, I believe. But really, this is fantastic. If you haven't been reading this series, go ahead and do yourself a favor and check it out. It's really good. I am really enjoying this, and I didn't think that I would whenever I first heard that Darth Vader was getting his own series, which I talked about that that a little bit yesterday, but I continue to remain impressed about this series. So that's about all that I have to say. I hope that you guys liked this video, and if you did, be sure to like, share, comment, and subscribe, and I will be back tomorrow with a different video. In the meantime, you guys have a great rest of the day. Catch you later.